What is going on, everyone? My name is Kevin, and in today's video we are checking out the Google Pixel 4 2 weeks after I purchased it. We'll talk about everything this phone has to offer and what my experience has been like using it. There is a lot to cover, so let's get to it. First up is a quick rundown of the main features. The Pixel 4 and 4 XL have ditched the single camera setup from the previous generation in favor of a secondary telephoto lens. The back is a simple monochromatic color with a lot of shine on the black variant I have. Gorilla Glass 5 covers both the front and the back. Face recognition unlock is the only biometric on this phone. There's no fingerprint scanner unlike its predecessor, but the face unlock does actually work well, so this is a plus. The screen is a OLED display. It's a 90Hz panel with a pixel density of 444 pixels per inch. It being OLED does allow for the always-on display feature. It's crazy to think that the Nexus 6P from 2015 has a higher pixel density, but when you look at the Pixel 4, it still is sharp. It's not the brightest panel, but the high refresh rate makes scrolling and navigating around the UI a really good experience. The first thing I did when I got the phone was enable that dark mode and turn off ambient EQ. EQ shifts the display colors to better suit your environment and make the colors easier on the eyes, but in effect, it did the exact opposite for me. Enabling dark mode, on the other hand, will help with eye strain and improve your battery life, which is something we'll talk about later. Before that, let's talk about the phone's performance day to day. Google has packed in the Snapdragon 855 chipset and Adreno 640 graphics card, which is actually the same chipset that OnePlus used in the 7 Pro. I was really happy with that phone's performance, and on the Pixel 4, the performance is nothing short of fantastic. It's obviously not as impressive as the Snapdragon 855 chipset, which is used in some recent phones, but until we see further development in augmented reality games, I really can't see a dire need for a better chipset. The phone handles my favorite games, Call of Duty Mobile and Modern Strike Online, at top settings with ease, and it didn't overheat too much after a long gaming session. One thing that stood out to me while gaming was how good these speakers are. It's got both the front-firing and the bottom-facing speakers, which get super loud, and the quality is the best that you get on a Pixel phone to date. In the box, you get a standard user guide and SIM tool, a 3-amp fast charging adapter, the charging cable, and they've included a USB-C to standard USB adapter. Some cool uses for the USB adapter can be powering up a LED light that's more powerful than what you have on your phone's flashlight, maybe an SSD or a flash drive, but anyways, I'm happy with the accessory inclusions, but these do not fully make up for the lack of the Pixel 4's storage options, and that's just the beginning of the cons. The Pixel 4 only comes in 64 and 128 gigabytes, which might be enough for you, but lately I've been really enjoying the expandable storage on my other phones through a micro SD card slot, a feature that this phone does not have. Instead, the company is persuading you to opt into the Google One cloud subscription service, and gone are the free full-size image backups. The most prominent of the other detracting features is no doubt the battery life. You know, specs aren't everything, but it sure is an indication of what to expect, and with a 2800 mAh battery, no wonder it's not that great. For reference, other Android phone makers like Samsung, OnePlus, and Huawei all make their flagship phones with 3400 mAh and above. Even the mid-range phones from Samsung, like the Galaxy A70, has a 4500 mAh battery that lasts me a day and a half. On the Pixel, I'd be hard-pressed to even make it through a full day of my phone usage, getting 3.5 hours of screen on time. On a whole other note, the screen-to-body ratio is just disappointing. What we get in turn for this unfortunate design is the face recognition unlock, a feature that's been done well on other phones with a teardrop notch instead of using a whole top bar. The one saving grace of this phone is, unsurprisingly, the software. Google, being primarily a software company, has nailed this aspect, and stock Android 10 is almost unanimously agreed upon as the best Android experience. The motion sense feature they've added this year is, in my opinion, a big gimmick, but what they have added that's useful is the squeeze to toggle voice assistant. The assistant is better than ever, and in the past 2 years specifically, I think Google has done a great job pioneering new uses for the voice assistant. The last thing I wanted to talk to you guys about was, of course, the cameras. Google's image processing is phenomenal. They've made the absolute most of this dual lens setup, but for some people, this still leaves the desire to have a third wide-angle lens. Sure, you can get an attachment lens like the Rhino Shield Mod lens or the overpriced variety from Moment lenses, but with the Pixel 4's already high price tag, this is hard to stomach. Unfortunately, the general consensus among tech reviewers and enthusiasts seems to be that the Pixel 4 camera has fallen behind the iPhone 11 Pro in terms of video recording. In terms of photos, well, it's pretty much personal preference. In my opinion, for the second year in a row, Google has delivered the best performing HDR camera in a smartphone. Unlike the cameras of the Samsung and OnePlus devices I've checked out recently, the Pixel 4 does not oversaturate images. Colors are true to life, and remember, you can always just add saturation to your RAW or JPEG photos in an editing app. Portrait mode gets the desired shot 9 out of 10 times for me, and even with that blur filter, the subject remains nice and sharp. Photos you get from the secondary telephoto lens are noticeably sharper than the Pixel 3's cropped images, but aside from the sharpness, there aren't any distinct differences. The camera app displays two sliders for exposure and shadows. The dynamic range of the camera is not great, so this slider will come into play to balance out your shots and even out the lighting. Low light photos with night sight mode are good enough to post onto social media, and importantly, they look natural. The phone does not have the ability to shoot 4K at 60 FPS, which I don't mind. The detail in video and limited frame rate options is not the problem here. It's that the competition has outperformed its video stabilization, which is a critical factor to how usable your footage is. For a lot of people, this phone just makes too many compromises to warrant buying it at its current price. Personally, I will not be holding on to the Pixel 4 for much longer. If none of these cons have fazed you, I think you have your answer. Don't upgrade to this if you have a 3 or a 3XL, but if you have a Pixel 2 or an older iPhone with a home button that's a bit beat up, this might be a good upgrade. If you've already picked up the Pixel 4, let me know if you agree with my critiques of the phone, and if you have any other questions that I did not address in this video, drop those in the comments down below. I will hit you back with a reply. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I'll talk to you in the next one.